What else?
So the writing itself, I look at, I love books. And books for me could be literature, could be fiction, could be science, could be history, could be anything. But obviously my favorite for me, and that will never change, it's the Bible. Because in it, there's quite a lot that I get out of. Example, not to sound too preachy, but the essence of reading a book like this is that there's something, and I love the fact that you were saying for Basadi Black, I wanted to understand because pain doesn't choose. If example, there was a sound here that sounded like a bomb, whether there was white or black people, we would all know what it is, which is to run into defense. If I cracked a joke here, you wouldn't go, such a black joke. But it would ignite that emotion. And for me, even marketing, for everything in marketing, whether it's wartime selling, it's airtime, it's this, I look at a work for companies such as MTN and Vodafone. It was never about the product, but it was about what emotion did you want to give. So someone who's opening up a savings account, I'm saving my money, so therefore I feel safe. Someone who's buying airtime, I'm getting to talk to my friend and we're making laugh. The product is not about it. So even in how I look at it is that when I write, I always think, what emotion do I want to bring to the forefront? And that emotion, I never have, I'm writing for black people. I never have, I'm writing for Indian people. And because of if you are hurt, you are depressed, you are happy, and the book makes you laugh or makes you think, the emotion cuts across. So that's what I hoped when I wrote the book. So in the essence, that's me. From a personal side, I'm a mother of two beautiful girls. But actually, they were the ones that made me late. Because the other one was like, I think I'll come with you to take pictures, and then she bailed out on me. So I've got two daughters, a 14-year-old, a 9-year-old. The same with them. I ignite the essence of saying find your purpose. The CD which I've got, the CD for me was also not to become an artist of note. It was to say how can I take the emotion I'm trying to say here, sing it, because music also cuts across. My first one of the books that I wrote, and I'll give you the story in terms of how I got to write it. And then we'll go deeper and deeper, the title, the chapters, and as said, as you guys know, the essence of it is looking at two values, which is self-restoration and self-forgiveness. So the character that is in the book literally goes through so much. As you as women, you can go through so much, whether you're in an abusive relationship, you grew up without a father, you are married but your husband doesn't give you or you feel insecure at work, or you look at yourself as a weight, or you were raped, you had an illegal abortion no one knows about. But the essence of it is that self-forgiveness is very key, because the girl goes through that journey of finding God, but she doesn't find God in the walls of the church. She finds it herself in a different way, and actually the only book she enjoys are the Psalms. Because the other books, when she reads them, she feels judged. And definitely from there she picks up the pieces to say it's not what's done to me, it's not what you do to me, but you know how they say it's how you react. So that's what the restoration is about. And those two things, whether I'm sitting with Umoja Basadi, or I'm sitting tomorrow with Indians, or even guys, because guys do it, I've done readings for guys. It's amazing how everyone says, yo, there's so many things. Like we always think as women, we go through so many things, especially relationships. you never think that the guy was supposed to because they seem tough. So you can imagine in a relationship where there was a rape or an abortion, no, I don't know. The guy has also emotions that he goes through. But because when you experience that physical injustice, then it seems as if it's too much. So in a nutshell, yeah, that's relate to that. So maybe a little bit of each one, who you are from, and how the book.
I'm Kogezo Mosela home.
Yes.
Based in 4 ways from Mpumalanga. Initially, we were here for our last meeting. We were going through our March meeting. And then since we were in a bookstore, we decided for our April week, let's just select something that's here so that we can buy it. Yeah. So I came across the book. Initially it was obviously the cover. When I read the synopsis, then it was like, okay, what's going on here? There's a lot. And then I read it to the ladies, and they were like, what's going on? What did she do? What kind of things? Trauma. Yeah. And then that's how we came to select the book. We were like, you know what, guys, let's just read it, find out what's going on, and then take it from there. When I was reading it initially, like from the get-go, like it grabs you. It grabs your attention. There's already so much going on because I think it starts with her at the doctor's where she discovers that she's pregnant, and then it goes back now back to the beginning. So that's what I loved about it initially. It just grabs you from the get-go. The first few chapters, there's already so much going on, and the answers are in the coming chapters, you know? So you want to keep reading, you want to find out why is this happening? Who's this? You know, how does it connect to Lily's life? What's going on, you know? So yeah, that's what I loved about the book. And as you were saying, emotion is another big one for me. Because also when we were discussing our March read, that's what we lacked in that book. We didn't feel connected. We sort of wanted to finish the book for the sake of finishing it so we could discuss it, but then in terms of being captivated by the story, we didn't feel that. So in this book, I got sad, I got angry, I laughed, you know, I was making little, you know when you're watching a movie and you comment and you're like, like, this idiot, you know, this guy, why is he doing this? Oh man, that's what was going on, and that's what I loved, is that the emotion was there, and some of the things that Lily went through, personally I could relate, personally I could understand, you know, and that's why sometimes I found myself crying in the parts where she was hurt because I've been in that, you know. So it was beautiful, like just to sum it up, it was a beautiful read for me, and I honestly couldn't put it down.
So you couldn't put it down.
I'm Makadi. Yes, from England, and Makadi does not mean Lobola, guys. Please.
What does it mean? Makadi, not Makadi. Yeah,
Thank you. My grandfather has never really explained it. The only thing I know, when my grandfather set me down, he said that I was named by his brother after Rakadiabon. So, yeah. Which is weird considering I'm an only girl. So, yeah. With this book, I was also, like she said, I was very captivated from the beginning, just based on the synopsis alone. Most of the things, obviously, not all of us get to go through all these things, and I'm pretty sure that all of us know somebody that has. And with really the things that she went through, you know, Lord, Madam it's amazing the challenges that can be given to you as you go through life. I mean, what are the odds that you as one person can be raped more than once by two different people? And the worst part of it all, by somebody who is supposed to protect you as well. You know, there was very interesting things that we'll discuss further, but I really, really loved this book. The emotions of it all, everything, the storyline, the friendships, the sisterhood of it all. I really enjoyed it.
Did you read it? I did. Did
you.
Okay, I'm Clementine.
So when did they say you joined them the last time? She joined us before the last meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you guys bought the book, she was here. No, she was graduating actually, but we bought her the book and then we shipped it to.
That's discipline. I like that. Very. And a lot of things they survive because of such. If you know, it's like I deal with a lot of young people. Like life happens, but if you can have the tenacity and the discipline to say, I was away, what happened? Let me catch up. Someone tell me, and then you showcase the discipline, and you guys will go far.
Okay, for me the highlight of it was the sisterhood within the book.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like as women we go through a lot and it's very rare for another woman to actually support you the way Kanya did or her sister did in this book. Yeah. For me that's the highlight.
Did you read it?
No.
So you've got a lot of homework. So me and you, we must do our own one-on-one. What's up?
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
Igama Obuhle, so Zulu. Soweto people.
Okay.
I don't have much to say regarding the book, but I really can't wait to read it. So okay, so we'll tell you because 2 weeks ago I went to Maponya, went to more of the south, and did my
You know, in those instances, I look at do send me a message so that, because what happens is that as an independent writer, obviously you need to manage costs, so you don't get to print out 100,000, and some of these bookstores at times they don't take if you are not known, so you're not like a Michelle Obama. But if there's a demand, example, if 2-3 people come in asking for this book, then it stimulates them to say, what's this about? So you as a customer, you could literally, that's a nice thing about being independent, you could have inbox me, send me to say, Cooks, I'm in East End, I don't have your book. Then I can find out, because we've got the likes of people that sell door to door. I've also got a 2 ladies, they sell door to door. So where you or to your work, you buy from them, same price, their commission is already built in, they deliver to you at work at school. So yeah. So I mean, I look at there's people who are from the East End in Lakeside. A friend of mine was like, look, I just met this guy, he owns a book gave I have a few of us, and I took a pack. So that's how you get to grow. And the nice thing about such, from even a business point of view, you've got products that move. Unlike you print 100,000. I mean, exclusive books, people sit and they read and then they put it aside. And the next thing it comes with looking like a dog's meat because consignment. So even for me running the business, I look at it that way. I'm like, I would never have pints and pints of milk here because even they go off. So if I can print based on demand, that's better. So in your case, definitely we'll make a plan, but let me know what is the name of the bookshop. Then it's an easiest phoning, and sometimes you start with 5 books just to see, because now at least you would have read it, so you shouldn't borrow someone else. You'll say go tomorrow because you made a plan. Okay. So definitely. Okay. So where do you hit?
Okay, I think my biggest question was the language that they spoke in the area.
That's the area.
Yeah.
So I look at one thing I love doing is traveling. And traveling locally, I've just got that bag. Sometimes I can just put full tank and drive all the way to Mpumalanga just to, and Vietnam for me, I learned quite a lot. And I actually came back thinking, in South Africa we can complain about a lot of things because people, they don't even care what type of jobs they do. But it's about the excellency in it. So people that sweep at the airport and so
the one of the location is the Mekong Delta. So Mekong Delta is actually a whole river. It's about 4,000 kilometers that cuts through the different villages, and it's not the rich or but it's in between, you know, like in Makai, where people live on, they make rice, they, you know, grow bananas, mangoes, and when I saw that there was just this connection, and also in Vietnam, the women, more women work there than here. Like women do jobs that men would do. So they drive, they wake up early in the morning, you know, they sell on the river. I mean, this one time in the middle of nowhere, next thing we heard, chips. Like there was just a whole ocean. This woman literally is scared. It's like a small ship. She was selling Pringles. And like you would buy there, and then she had this pole, a basket. She puts your stuff, she gives it to you on the ship, you give her money, just like that. So the Mekong Delta, so what I did then, I tried, because of, that's the people I'm going, it's not the market, it's the people of the things. So I took places that I had traveled, London, like you see, what's her name? Kanya. I mean, Usta, she becomes a fashion somebody, and I also didn't want it to be your typical black people, oh, Hashem village, then what? No, they grew up in that village, was self-centered, but they had a way of branching out. Someone in Nigeria could identify with that, because if you see how many Nigerians are successful in the US, in the UK, because of the government relationships they have. Like people from Zimbabwe, and so they could get scholarships to go overseas. So being in London for them, it's easier. That's why you'll go to London, you meet a Nigerian, like, I'm from Nigeria, but you sound UK. So I wanted to bring that, to say, if there's a child out there who's reading this from Ekulu or wherever, where there's nothing, there's no electricity, there's paraffin. So I try to bring those elements. Like where she's studying, there's no paraffin. That's a South African feel, where maybe the grandmother says something in Sesotho. You know what I mean? So I wanted to bring elements of that. Then it opens up my conversation wherever I go, without thinking I'm a South African, I wrote it for South African. So Mekong Delta, and also because I had the desire to turn this into a short movie, then it would be great for me to speak to the ambassador, example, of Vietnam, to have one scene. Then it opens up the market. So it's not going to be a short movie that has all black people speaking isiZulu. For all you know, you could have a Chinese, Vietnamese popping in doing something. Yeah. So that's why. So even the language was a bit creative for the sake of creating it. Yeah.
Because like if you really go, Chigi Chigi, we were in South Africa. Chigi Chigi, you know. And then at the back of the book, I think there's a picture of the village. Yeah. And then you're like, Mekong Delta, Vietnam. So too. And then, you know, but then it's interesting. Like, it's just nice to see how you still manage to play with all of that, but then still keep us in the story.
And it was delivered, like you're saying, to your point where you it feels as if it's the end, but no, it's not the end. And I think that I was still discovering. If you ask me to say, what is my style of writing? I don't have, but it's how I think. So I could be sitting here engaged with you guys as I am. I don't know about God's design, but in my mind there could be a lot of things that I'm planning, which are for next week, next year, or something I need to, but you will never know. So I think sometimes that's where, in understanding your gift, then you don't never get boxed. You know, because someone can read it and make a comment to say, it's just a lot of gibberish. But it's my gibberish, which I listen, because some of our lives, they don't go straight.
Correct.
How many times you, even as a black person in South Africa, your life changes because you grew up with a grandmother, she dies, you have to move to your uncles, then you know, you have to go to the city for your food, and then you get there, there's new people. Next thing you know, you meet a boyfriend who's from Venda, you're like, okay, that's how life, because there's never a narrow, and in a space of a day, you know, I always say, God says that to him, one day is like 1,000 years. So if your life today was 1,000 years, how many things can happen? Because you can experience, you can wait, it's like someone waiting for a miracle. I always say don't sleep, because you never know, you can get it at 11:10 because God looks at you and says, in 1,000 years, for me it's in a day. So I was applying even those type of things to say, if this person were to be in this world, space and time, how does it go? You know, and life just compresses.
When I was reading it, I was thinking KZN, we're going into KZN, and then the city Joburg. As I'm reading, I hear Kanye saying, I went to Cape Town. I'm like, what? Yeah, I got it.
And then you see what it does, it opens up your imagination.
Yeah,
it does, because you know, I think we were here the other day saying that books, they allow you to do that, because you can make up your own goal.
Correct. Yes.
Based on the value which is behind you. You know, you can make up. I mean, you look at there's one example where she thinks she's been chased before she gets raped. She's been chased by monkeys. So that type of thing you can imagine if you're the Kruger. You know, you've seen those small, even in Durban, Westville, you know, they close the windows because Nazim fan. So it was that type, because I've seen that in school. And I've also seen it at a park, but not living amongst. And in Vietnam, they live amongst monkeys. Yeah, they feed them, they come, they hear.
The reason why I thought KZN, because I remembered my grade 7 camp, we were at like a forest, but then the beach was like down there and there were monkeys as well. So I was thinking KZN somewhere. Joburg was the city as usual. Yeah.
But that's nice how you created a location based on your own experience. So another thing that's like, before your explanation, what I loved, I felt like when you were writing the book, you were writing it based on like a reader. You know? Because like, I don't know, just the way you were flowing, the way you knew when to cut which scene and jump to the next one. You were writing it as though you were reading it. Because sometimes you get books where the author is just telling the story. You know, it's one direction from beginning to the end. There's no in between, there's no, you know? So it gets kind of boring in that way, because now they're just telling their story, but they're not envisioning how the story is going to come across to a reader. Do you understand? So when I don't know, I just felt that you were writing it as a reader because you knew when to cut away and then jump to the next scene and when to do whatever. So that's why it was so engaging for me, going through the book.
So I look at, you know, when you say my best times for me to write are mostly 8 hours in the morning. And for years, to a point where I'll be like, I don't know what wakes me, but something wakes me. And for me, it's the Holy Spirit. But every time then I would even start writing. Obviously, I pray, you know, to say, I know I'm going to write fictions, but there's someone out there who would. So, and whenever then I would get that voice to say, you've told enough. Let the person now finish. And you know, sometimes that's the journey we walk. I mean, I always say, if God were to show you now what's going to happen to you tomorrow, some of us would wish we died today. Because there's this accident you don't know. There's this parent that you might get to lose, you don't know. There's this maybe a rape scene that's coming that you don't know your way. But because when we walk through certain things, not everything has to be finished with a conclusion. And at times, because as people, we want to finish. We want like, no, conclude this for me. No, but some answers is you will never get to know and be at peace with it. So when I started writing, then I would get those moments. So for example, I would get a location which will cut this. I will get a picture, and also how it came about for me, it comes in different forms. It comes in a voice. So sometimes I hear a voice. You see, like now, that's the best thing about being a writer of fiction, because your story tomorrow could become a twist. Him sitting there could become a character one day of. Then it comes in a form of a voice, it comes in a form of a picture, or it comes in a form of something I like. So example, where there's a scene where this girl, the best friend, I think she's in the first time they go to the club, and there's the friend who brings them drinks, and there's this lady which they love who comes on stage. Her name is Esperanza Spalding. She's a jazz exists today. She's young. That scene for me, because I once went to New York and we were at a jazz club with my husband, but I took that. But the essence of having her being drunk, it was a way of saying, because remember she started screaming, don't hurt me, because Kanya didn't know. And you would have expected her to tell Kanya. But because Kanya was so flamboyant and she wouldn't have got the story. You would have thought she did because they were best friends.
Yeah.
But the type of person that she is, she would have probably made a big scene out of it. And guess what? It was the sister whom she had rejected. Remember, the sister was dating an older man. She actually became the source of. So I think it's having to sometimes just leave it so that you let the reader think further. You know, and where did I learn it from? I don't know. But I would bet you it's the way God is carving my path. You know, and I look at, you know, it took me, people always say, since 2011, the answer is yes. Since 2011, because had I rushed, I wouldn't have been to the different countries, experienced, and even people always ask me, have I gone through some of these personal things? The answer is no. You don't, like you said, my friend, you don't have to go through everything to know. Just because you went through it, it's enough for me to have compassion. To say, you know what, I hear you, I feel you. And women, we've got that ability to say, yo, really, you've gone through it. The rape thing for me was, I had a friend of mine actually in high school who was raped. So how it got about was that it was my matric dance. And then they came to our after party, our school after party. And when I got there, it was obviously a party, club, you can imagine teenagers. And I decided to leave because I had a curfew at home. Because I knew, like, my mother ain't having. And also, I think it was a way of God just snatching me out. For me, claustrophobic and clubs. So I left. And I asked her to say, let's go. And she didn't want to go. And then her friends, the other group of ours, convinced her to stay, to say there's a lift that's going to take them home. And I went home. I remember I still put in my diary. I kept diaries those days. To say I went to matric, I'm worried about my best friend. And Lord behold, I slept. The following day, went to her house to catch up. And I got home, she was raped. In those days, it was time, you know, these guys that used to drive Makusheshe and Golfs. So this guy gave them a lift, a whole lot of them, and she was the last one he dropped off. And then instead of taking her home, he drove to a different place. And guess what? Electric, doors and whatnot, and he raped her there. So I think. And for me, it was like, I didn't go through it, but that thought always haunted me. Then I came back, you know, told my mother. And I think to this day, we parted ways because there was that thing of, it happened because I was in law. I remember there was a time the mother actually set me down this one time because she also followed me to Durban to study. I studied in Durban. And then when I came back this one holiday to pick up some of the stuff to take back to school, her mother set me down and said that my daughter loves you more than she loves me. Imagine, that's the mother. Because I just feel that in her life, you were an idol as opposed to a friend. I was young at that age. Went told my mother, and my mother literally made a spiritual, physical, emotional decision to say start pulling away from. Because if her mother says that to you, the worst could happen. And then he's parted. Haven't spoken to in 20 years. So the personal journeys at times, they're not direct, but they're indirect, you see, because of all those. And if I look at her life today, that thing really scarred her. But was it my fault? The answer is no. Did I? No. But someone did something to her which she hadn't brought upon herself. But self-forgiveness, for me, I had to self-forgive. I had to self-restore, and I had to take accountability and responsibility for whoever. To this day, I take friendships with a pinch of salt, very few. Because of that one instant girlfriend that we saw, you see, that's a nice thing to have. Because in a radio interview, you can't speak of such things. So when I write them, that's what it is. Because being led by the Holy Spirit from time to time. Good.
Make sure you just answered my question. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, based on everything that's been happening to Lily, which parts are from personal experience?
Yeah. So the trips, they're not from personal. The rape indirectly, and then the realness of it. I look at the father. It's fiction. Fiction for me because I said I grew up without my dad. So having to make that character of a loving father. The mother is possibly me now. The mother of Lily. The responsibility she has of taking the clothes to, going to the city. I think there's a bit of, and then I think Kanya from that personality of expansion. I identify with it because in my normal space I'm colorful and the hair and the this.
And then the guy, her high school sweetheart. Oh, that Shepherd.
The way he died.
And then I want to understand, yes, it was her first love sort of like, but why did he have such a hold on her? Because even after, I think when she was in jail or something, I'm Mona Shepherd, she would still dream of him, she would daydream he was there. So it was like she carried him throughout her life.
So, sorry, also, what I also picked up regarding that was that apart from Lorenzo, that was probably the only guy she ever had a connection with her entire life. So I think maybe his appearing in her visions and the dreams she was having is kind of that thing. Because also, he probably was also just as in love with her,
Yeah.
It's like getting soulmate at some point. And you know how it is when you're going through something and the people that probably love you the most and you love the most are the ones that help you out of those kind of situations. That's just my opinion.
So I look at Shepherd, as the name says, Kimudisa, because, and the link was, so in when I studied, what is it? We study literature, English. There's original writing, literature, poetry, and there's something that I learned in school that there are characters, even in film, there's characters that are not dominant, but they play a subtle, meaningful role. So Shepherd, as the name says, that he was umelusi for her.
for me, it played the invisible Holy Spirit that in my context, to say that sixth sense that you know, the sixth sense that you need in life to tell you this is wrong. And that's why you see it was the grandmother who read the Psalm 23, the grandmother at the wedding. And because she never got a chance to explore that, and after that shepherd, you know, it's example where you could trace when there was something that happened in your life, something very terrible, but you could trace to say, no, before it happened, there's something that parted. You know, it's like someone saying, you know, before someone died, I had a dream. Or it just started raining. Or it just started. So for her, it was that when she lost the friendship, it's like someone who loses their guide, or someone who walks around without the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Then they are unable to sense it all. And which is why when she met Lorenzo, she had the ideal, but she didn't know what it is. She had the idea of being in love and what she felt, but she couldn't understand to say, but why is this not feeling like that? Because it was so short-lived. And for me, the Lorenzo one, I wanted to bring in that element of the mining, which is South Africa. You know, how many people and young people have lost their parents through mining. So funny enough, I had that Marikana thing. You know, where someone goes out and seeks for their father, and only to find out in the city they meet the wrong people, what, you know, they get stabbed, and you never hear about them. So it was so shepherd is exactly, it was her guiding light, which is why she kept on dreaming. But the chasing, because when she lost that, then her life started changing. But at the end, guess what? She gets to reunite with that sense of the shepherd, but not through him, but she brings him to finding God.
As you guys are talking, I'm going through a whole lot of emotion.
So that's how I've captured it. And you know, I always say, like you're saying with fiction, you know, I read a lot of, there's a book that always stands out for me. I'm not sure, Manuela Sweat, A Thousand Splendid Suns. Yes. If you guys were to read the next, have you got a copy? Yeah. Like this one. So, Khalid was saying he takes real issues and brings them. So in India, example, there's a lot of adoption with girls. You know, it's like someone going to America and then you meet wrong people at the airport and they take you. But it takes a journey of 2 girls. Those are the story that I gravitate towards. There are books, like you're saying, where you read it, you think, I'm not connecting also. Like, where's this taking me? It's a lot of, you know, it's like people when they ask me who's your favorite author, I don't have, some of them I don't even remember. The other day I was on Metro, it was terrible because they were asking me what's your favorite book. I'm like, I don't remember the books and the authors, but I can remember stories. Yes, I can remember the story of it. Yes. So whenever I read, I always read it with a pinch of salt. And sometimes that's what I find with the new South African books. They try to tell a lot of South African ways, you know. Then it's the maids, it's the slave queens, it's the and it's a good way, but the world is bigger. The world is bigger than, and then they want to bring in the language of Kasi, then it's the slang, then it's but the world I always say it's bigger. And some of the books I read them, I mean, then I think, I can't. You know, and I think in a year, I would probably read 2 to 3 books, but really, the rest are just research. Then I take from experiences, what I read on the news, what I see on TV, well then I'll just quickly do a mind map of characters. Then I'll start. What else?